welcome to another episode of Work the Left Side. I am happy to announce I'm joined by Liam. He has just told me, I'm going to totally fluff this up, Liam and Vusyk.
Close enough.
Sorry, dude. I just totally remind me, man. When I start talking to you guys, I'm a bit like, I do fanboy out sometimes. I'm like, stay cool, stay professional. And then my mind just goes all fuzzy. So, but yeah, Liam, how we going, mate? You all right?
Yeah, it's all good, man. Really.
Sweet. Yeah, well, I'll just get this out of the way. This is actually our 100th episode. So for the people who have watched all of them, thank you. If this is your first time watching an episode, thank you for watching. Go back and watch the other 99. And yeah, you are part of a milestone. So thank you for joining me, especially on this one.
Good to be here, man.
So yeah, obviously very much man of the moment. You seem to be popping up all over the shop at the minute, having quality matches. Obviously, most recently with the Ace One, Mr. Matthews. I've seen those pictures on social media. I've watched some of the highlight reels. How are you finding it at the minute? You just having a blast? You just getting the bookings and hitting the road and doing what you do?
Oh, I am having an absolute blast. Just so much fun right now, especially now things are starting to pick up slowly. Like that old saying of, you know, you have to try and get your foot in the door. My foot's not fully in the door yet, but it's sort of on its way. I can feel.
Definitely, yeah. Like I say, I seem to be seeing you popping up more and more all over the shop. Obviously, I'm based in Leeds, so I've had the pleasure of seeing you like True Grit and promotions around the area. Saw you at 1PW at the last Doncaster show. So yeah, like I say, you just, if your foot's not in the door, you literally, your Achilles is just on the outside of it, I'd say. Yeah,
just a little. That's all.
So, well, let's do the generic stuff first. Obviously, anybody who knows you, follows you, knows you've got a very keen interest in martial arts. So what came first, martial arts or the wrestling, or did the wrestling lead to the martial arts?
Wrestling was first in March 2019. That's when I started training. And then I started training karate in, I think it was, I would say June of that year, 2019. So I started karate after, pretty much, because I thought doing karate may help out with my wrestling, which it has definitely, especially when it comes to footwork and all that. Currently, I'm a brown belt, second white tag. In December, I'm going to be grading for my black belt, which I cannot wait for. So that's a massive, massive milestone for me.
And that's in 4 years. That's impressive.
And there was a gap during, obviously, coronavirus, because obviously you can't make contacts. So I was stuck at like orange belt. So that's like midway, like one of the earlier belts for quite some time, really. So that sort of slowed down. So yeah, my progress to black belt has been very quick compared to most people. Really.
Is it? Do you just find is it just something that's come natural then, or do you think that the wrestling has helped? I know you said the martial arts would help the wrestling, but do you think the wrestling has helped the martial arts as well? Was it kind of just like a good merger of the two?
I think you excel at what you enjoy. I think that's what it is. Because especially with me, I don't like team sports whatsoever. Like it's like football, like rugby. I didn't mind at school because obviously you just smash people you don't like. That's about it, really. But sports where I just rely on myself, I've excelled at the most. I think my flexibility was one thing that helped out with karate, especially, and in wrestling. To be fair, I think that's so important, flexibility. But yeah, I think both each help out one another, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, perfectly. It kind of makes sense because, like I say, the first thing you said was footwork. Footwork is key in both. You know, if you've got good footwork, it helps you shed loads in both areas.
Oh yeah, that like footwork is the one thing I value the most over pretty much anything else. I remember when I was originally training with at NGW with Nathan Cruz and Matt Myers, when I started doing training matches, but before I used to box as well. wrestling, so I did have a decent foundation when it comes to footwork, like not crossing your legs or anything. And when I started having training matches, the first things they would say is, "God, your footwork's good for what it should be already." Because I think a lot of wrestling trainees that come into the business don't have that fighting background. So when you watch people, you can see who's fought, or you can see who's like done MMA or box before, because you just have to look at their feet and you can tell they've done some form of martial art. And you can tell the ones that haven't when, you know, they're crossing their legs or whatever. But that's not a problem. That's just, you know, the inexperience of that.
Yeah, it's something you learn. It's just something you either learn straight away or something that you know. So if you know it already, that kind of puts you a couple of steps ahead.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously, Ryan Paul Davies, a friend of the channel, former professional boxer, now wrestler. Again, same sort of thing. You know, his footwork's ace, but that's he's had 15 years worth of boxing, you know, to help with his. So the transition into wrestling was a bit smoother for that reason as well. So yeah, it's just, like I say, it just covers one area, helps the other area, definitely. You mentioned NGW though. I was going to mention that at some point. Obviously Nathan Cruz, Matt Myers, been two big names, and on your shows as well. Obviously you mentioned Liam Slater. That's three kosher guys to be, you know, trained by.
Oh yeah, all three of them are class. And even now, I'm currently being trained by Robbie X as well at the Evo Academy, and he's, you know, that's been an extra weapon in the arsenal. God, like I say, Nathan and Myers are both the same. They are great storytellers.
Yeah.
Liam Slater's the great, you know, technician wrestler who just knows anything and everything in wrestling, you know, encyclopedia and all that type of stuff. And then Robbie's your mad cardio dude who gets doing drills constantly. But I love it. Not a lot of people do love it, but, you know, I do see the benefit and I get the reward from it. Having all that combined creates Vusyk as a result.
That's it, man. That's like saying you just like you think like four corners. It's just a perfect. It's not quite Lex Luger, but it is the total package as close as you're going to get structure wise. I think you've got every area covered. Like you said, you've got the technical side, storytelling side, and Robbie X. You've got to look at Robbie over the last couple of years. His transformation, you know, his gym work, his cardio, everything. The guy's just gone beast mode. So,
God, yeah, and it's his pace control too. He told me that he learned a lot about this when he wrestled Will Ospreay. Yeah. About controlling your pace, because I think originally I think he was very fast paced, boom, boom, boom. And then there's also another thing, knowing how to settle down and, you know, bring the pace all the way down so that you can bring it back up over time.
I think Ospreay tweeted something a while ago. Is something about building the anticipation. You know, the deliverance means more if the anticipation's there. You've got to get that balance. Like I said, slow it down a little bit so the fans are like waiting, and then it's like, bam, yeah, there you go. There's the moment you're waiting for. I think that's the difference between guys who have got the experience. They know how to have people on the edge of the seats.
Mm. Well, it's the same as watching a film or watching a TV series. It's the exact same thing. I see wrestling as the same as that, as movie making. Like, I do still see it as a sport, for say, because you need to, I guess, because it is. Well, it's the same sort of atmosphere as boxing or MMA. You got loads of people paying money to watch a fight. But then there's another side to it where obviously this is make-believe stuff, and it's your job to make this dream become some form of reality. Like when you watch a class film or a TV series, clearly, obviously, Chris Hemsworth or Thor, you can't fly. We all know that. That's not. But it's their job. It's their job. They make us believe it.
Yeah.
You know, and you've seen Avengers, I'm guessing Avengers Endgame. If the end of a film, or well, any film, The Green Mile, if the end of the film is making you cry literal tears from your eyes, then it's done a pretty good job.
You've named the two films that literally did do it to me. Both of those films. Very few films break me. I can sit and watch Marley and Me. Nothing. My overall thinks I'm just soulless. But yeah, you put Green Mile on or Endgame, dude, I'm just emotional wreck. I'm like, it's just dusty in here. I'm not crying. But again, though, yeah, it's like I say, it's a suspension of disbelief. Those guys are doing what they're doing to such a high level that they just emotionally pull you in. And that's what wrestling is. You're right. It's the same thing. You know, if you see a good match, dude, the emotional roller coaster of a good match is unparalleled.
Oh God, yeah. Again, like I say, same thing with watching even like anime. Like my mum and dad always tell me this, and I find this interesting. They can't watch cartoon anime because they don't believe it, I guess. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Because it's not real. But then I really pushed for my mum to watch this series called Attack on Titan. Just push. Like, it's class, believe me. And then when she starts watching it, she starts to understand the storytelling, the acting, you know, the build up of everything, what it's leading to, the end. And then she's like, yeah, that's one of the best things I've ever watched. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then she forgets about the animation and the bright colours and the obvious, you know, creation of these characters, and buys into the story that's being told right in front of her.
Yeah, that's it. And again, I believe I'm obviously a massive comic book geek. That's why I do a lot of drawing and watch a lot of wrestling and watch a lot of films. It doesn't matter what form of media it's in. A good story is a good story, whether it be a book, a comic book, a cartoon, a film, a wrestling ring, even a song. If you listen to like a freaking 10-minute song that's been written to tell a story, you know, that pulls you in. So it's just any form of creativity that can touch you emotionally. I think it's just awesome. And that's what I don't think people get about wrestling sometimes. It's just emotional, you know, the roller coaster.
I think people forget the storytelling side of wrestling. I think nowadays people are going for boom, action, and then they forget about the why or the reasoning for what they're doing. And I think that's the most important thing to me whenever I go in the ring and wrestle whoever I'm wrestling. I always think, why am I doing this? Why do I do this move? Why am I fighting? I mean, I'm not just here to, you know, go bang for no reason whatsoever, or fight just, you know, for the fun of it, because it's not fun. You know, there has to be reason for what you're doing. That's what's important to me.
That's it. I think we was talking to I think it was Greg Boyd originally, but I was speaking to Freaky Felicia about it last week, you know, about characters in wrestling and understanding the character. But one of the most important things is, and this again kind of comes back to like my understanding of it is through like my comic book days, is the origin of the character. You can create a character, you can do this, that, and the other, but if you haven't got an origin in your head of that character, they've got no sort of moral compass, or they've got no direction.
And to add on to that, I don't think the character doesn't need to be overcomplicated or out of this world.
Yeah.
The reasoning for why you fight could be as simple as for money. You know, and straight away, that's relatable and understandable.
Right.
You know, the reasons don't have to be like, you know, bloody, you know, whatever, like random film or, you know, rubbish film you've watched that makes no sense whatsoever, and you're thinking, why are they doing this? That makes no sense. You know, it could be as simple as, I'm literally fighting for my family, or I'm fighting for my country, fighting for money. You know, Vusyk is pretty simple if I was to describe it to you. He is literally fighting for money, willing to fight anyone, fighting for his country, fighting for his pride, and the rest of the story will tell itself depending on his opponent in front of him.
Yeah. But that's an origin. An origin story doesn't have to be complex. No. You know what I mean? People can have a complex one if they want, or you can have a very simple one. Yeah, it's like,
I was going to say, like, the complexity of the story can be built up later on.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be right from the beginning, like this, that, and the other. You could have the basics right from the beginning. Then you have a rivalry with someone and you end up having class matches with them. Then the story and the info can be filled in there. That's what I believe, at least.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Like I said, it's like, again, you know, in any form of entertainment, you've got these really in-depth, layered characters, and then you've got guys that just turn up and kick ass. I mean, like I would say John Wick, just as for public pop culture kind of thing. You know, it's not much about. He's got very simple origin story. He had a dog. He had a wife. They both got killed, and somebody nicked his car. And then they've got 4 films out of that.
Yeah, I absolutely love John Wick. That I took a lot of inspiration from those type of characters, like the quiet, sort of chilled out, but just killer characters. That's what I relate to the most, at least. Like, not the outgoing, like, flashy lights. I'm more into, you watch UFC by any chance?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not for a few years, but I did. I was big on it way back in the day. But I haven't watched it for a few years.
Yeah, so like there's this Brazilian called Alex Pereira who was just this monster of a human, like proper chill. There's funny videos of him where he's riding a roller coaster and he puts the video of himself up and he's not got no reaction whatsoever as he's riding this roller coaster. It's just so funny. But again, his attitude is very normal when he's on the microphone. He's not trying to be a Conor McGregor, like saying all these catchphrases or trying to get attention. He's literally just dead focused on what he's doing. And when he gives a stare down on someone, you can literally see in his eyes, I am going to kill you. Like, that is the most real thing that I see in people. I can definitely see when people are telling the truth and when they're lying. Not by saying words, just by the way how they look at someone or by the way how they present themselves. You don't need to say a word to show if you're telling the truth or lying.
But yeah, again, it's different characters, different sort of wrestling being wrestling. Well, any form of entertainment, you need that diversity of characters. You need your loudmouths, and then you also need your guys that just can make you shit yourself with a stare kind of thing. You're like, yeah, no, I really don't want to fight that guy, but I'm going to have to. And yeah, that's obviously where I would put you into that category. Where I've made the comparison on socials. I don't know how far back your wrestling knowledge goes when you started watching it, or if you've gone back and watched some of the older stuff. But yeah, Loki from in his TNA days or his Ring of Honor days, dude, that's the biggest sort of. I'm watching your matches and I'm getting like Loki vibes. And I mean, that's a massive compliment because the dude's been one of my favourite wrestlers for a long, long time. But yeah, I don't know if you obviously know of Loki, if you've watched any of his stuff.
I originally known him as Cabal. That's how, when he was in NXT. I never actually watched him as Loki back in TNA. Just because back then I only ever watched WWE and I only ever knew WWE. I didn't know about New Japan or AEW or Ring of Honor, all these other companies. I started watching wrestling in 2009, and then it just kept going on from there. I just watched wrestling like I'd watch football, just keeping up to date with everything. I wouldn't call myself a super fan, like gets all the merchandise and is like absolutely hype about it for him. But I always watched it just because I did love it. And then Caval did show up in NXT and straight away stood out just because he was a lot smaller.
Yeah,
especially in that time, whatever year it was in WWE, like he had some huge dudes, and then Caval was this, class striker. He was small and like agile, and you could tell he was a serious threat, even with the size difference. That's what I liked about him the most.
Yeah, no, definitely. He was just like I say, the guy was just fierce. He was like strong style before strong style was, a thing. But yeah, if you get a chance, if you ever do find yourself curious, I highly recommend some of his stuff in TNA. Like it's like AJ or Samoa Joe or Christopher Daniels. It's just hard hitting as fuck. And literally, it's very few people make me cringe when I'm watching, but in a good way, where just dropping kicks and stuff. I'm just like, oh, Jesus, wept. Yeah, it's just, and again, like I say, massive compliment, dude. For me, you embody that kind of just don't fuck with him vibe.
Yeah, that's awful, man. I appreciate that.
It's like a massive compliment. So, but yeah, obviously we talked to NGW. I'll say I've seen you around here, seen you at 1PW. Obviously, I know you mentioned obviously training with Robbie at Evo. I know you kind of walk through Pursuit stores sometimes as well.
Yeah, I do as well. So after before coronavirus, I should say, in March 2019 when I started training. I trained for 1 year. Then coronavirus happened there. I took about a year and a half off. Then got back training in September 2021 with the Evo Academy and Super Wrestling, which is where I first met Liam. Oh yeah, back then I went every week to Sheffield and Grimsby. Up until I made my debut in January 2022. And yeah, Pursuit's just been a great place for me. Again, on Liam's side of things, the technical wrestling, the absolute knowledge, just to pick up on all the small details of what it is that I do, all the moves, how I move in general, and just the constant feedback and what I get from Liam is absolutely class, and I appreciate every single second that I get it. So yeah, I'm going to be going tomorrow as well again to work on some other stuff, because I sent him a match of what me and Sam Gradwell had, and straight away comes back to me, and I get, not just what I like is getting the constructive feedback on, even if I have a class match, I want to know exactly what it is I'm doing wrong or what I can improve on. And straight away, I want to work on that and improve on it as soon as I possibly can. And Pursuit has just been a great home for me, as well as the Evo Academy, for me to hone my craft and develop all my skills.
Yeah, like I said, just two very good schools from what I've seen and heard from speaking to people. Obviously, you mentioned Sam Cradwell. He definitely seems to be the man of the moment as well. He seems to be popping up a lot of places. Obviously, since his return from NXT UK, he's just leveled up. And it seems like a lot of people are working with him. But it seems like people of a high regard are working with him. So, like you said, you've just had a match. So I think that's a massive compliment to you that that you're working with Sam, because he just seems to work at the top end of the cards everywhere.
Yeah, I think that match with Sam Gradwell was my test to see if I could actually work at that level. And based on like people that have watched the match, people that I've listened to, podcast or whatever, they say that I have passed that test and that I did a great job. So that's the step complete. Now is the consistency part. Can I keep up this consistency of great matches for the rest of my career? And I intend to do that. God, yeah.
And I honestly can't, hand on heart, I can't see why you wouldn't. It's not just by talking to you and seeing what you sort of post and stuff. You're not going to become complacent. You're not that guy. Like sort of said, you get feedback on matches. You want to work on areas instead of like focusing on what you did really well. You're looking at what could be improved, and then you just constantly working to level up every time, kind of thing.
I understand that this is a long game. Professional wrestling or getting to that top level, it takes years. Not something that just happens like that. Only for like maybe very few people, but you have to accept that this is a long process and you have to do the work. And if you don't have the patience and you become complacent, then that's when people throw you under the bus and forget you. Whereas if you are patient and you put in the work, slowly build up your reputation, your match quality, build up the experience. Like even now, I'm not the most, popular dude as getting into different companies that I haven't wrestled for yet. Like I say, my foot's not fully in the door yet, so I'm not going to say like I should be here, I should be there, or whatever, that type of thing. God no, I've still got to earn my way first. And like, what month is it now? It's August. So I've been wrestling for a year and 7 months. And that's not a lot of time. That's a very short amount of time. I'd like to say that I've done a decent amount for a year and 7 months. So right now I'm on a very good track if we look at this future timeline to do some great stuff in the future.
Yeah, no, again, totally agree. Like I say, a year and a half to be in the wrestling world is baby steps. You should really still be taking baby steps after a year and that long. But as you sort of said, you've been put against Sam Gradwell. That was a test. For somebody to have the faith in you to test you in under 2 years, that to me shows the upward curve and the kind of progression that you're making. So Yeah, man. I think you'll be hitting top strides. I think it's going to be very similar to your karate journey, where I think you're going to be hitting the top heights sooner than people would expect.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that is, but again, looking into the smaller details of why I did karate. Again, I absolutely love karate, and I've developed so much from it. But also just having that black belt will hopefully add to that CV of not just I'm a wrestler, but also like this is what my sensei always said. If you're going for a job that's just a normal job, and if you have a black belt, straight away that draws attention on you, because not because you can fight, but that just shows that you've put in the work and you're persistent and you want to work hard. And if you have a black belt, that proves it.
Yeah, well, it shows you discipline. It shows you can follow instruction, you listen, and yeah, like you've got the drive to succeed if you're pointing in the right direction, kind of thing. So totally agree. I've got to mention them now, actually, whilst I'm thinking about it. The nunchuck. How long? I mean, that was awesome, dude. I figured you've been doing it for years just after watching that nunchuck video. Again, something you've just taken to like that, or is that taken months and months of practice and many a black eye, or?
I've done it for about 2 weeks.
Oh, dude, behave.
I just bought a pair off Amazon because I was like, I'll just do some nunchucks, why not? Just for a bit of fun. Because I spent a lot of time on my phone. I was like, I need to get off this. So I randomly thought, like, I could get some nunchucks and just mess around and see what I can do. And be like, yeah, okay, cool. So I just got some nunchucks and then went on YouTube, look at some tutorial videos, and then just went flying with them.
Dude, so you start straight off with the wooden ones, or did you get the foam ones to start with, or do you just think,
God no, for foam practice ones, God, I'd never use the metal or wooden things. No, never do that. God, my back would be absolutely bruised and bad if I did that.
I'm of the age where I love anything nunchuck related. I'm a massive martial arts geek from back in the day. I'm of the age where nunchucks were banned for a long time over here. In any films, you couldn't, if you watched a film and it had nunchucks in it, like stateside or in Hong Kong, they got cut from the British release. So they're like the forbidden fruit to me. Like when the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles film came out, Mikey didn't have nunchucks in that. No, they were banned. I had the Bruce Lee Dragon story. There's like a whole 5-minute segment in that where there's a dream sequence that he's using nunchucks and whopping a demon's arse. British version, not there, made no sense at all. So, yeah, man. Yeah, you was allowed to have a machine gun, but you can't have 2 bits of wood on a chain for some reason. It was mental.
Every day, I guess.
That was originally cut when it first came over here. So, random bit of information for you. Appreciate you now live in a time where nunchucks are accessible and cool. Unfortunately, was deprived for many a year. So yeah, okay, that's fine. So a few weeks, and awesome. I was literally, like I said, I commented on it on Instagram. I thought that was very, very cool. And so we've got the nunchucks, got martial arts, got karate, got wrestling. But you say your foot's not all the way in the door yet. So what's the plan going forward? Obviously, just train, network, get on more shows.
I think the main thing is, this is what Nathan told me, is you just simply got to get in the car with people, whatever shows they're on, just go with them, show your face, help out. And if you show that you're willing to travel from A to B, however long that is, it shows that you're willing to put in the work and you want to wrestle for whatever company that is. And again, however long that time it takes for them to be like, okay, let's have you on. Because that's not, again, you can't just help out once and then they just have you. That's not how it works. You need to, again, be disciplined, persistent, not annoying, but you kind of need to be as well, just to show your face constantly and remind them, I'm here. And then eventually you'll get that spot. A lot of it is other people, word of mouth, this person's class. It took, I would say, months of Nathan and Ace Matthews telling Rich Dunn, NGW owner, you need to look at Vusyk, you need to look at Vusyk, you need to look at Vusyk. It's just constant doing that over and over and over and over again. Then I get my spot, then I get my opportunity. Then he sees me, he's like, oh, now I get it. And now I'm currently, I'd say, secure in NGW as of right now, which I'm absolutely happy about. Yeah, it's just get in the car, help out, go to any show that you can, how far it is, obviously, make sure you're not losing too much money, and just be patient.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, NGW is awesome. I've been watching British wrestling long enough to. I remember NGW back in the day when you had like Cruz, Myers, Rampage, Travis's, Kirby's, a very young Liam Lazarus, guys like that kind of thing. And NGW for me has always been one of the top promotions in the country. So if you're comfortable there, again, it speaks volumes. And the word will spread as well. You're as good as the companies you work for. So that will help tenfold. But yeah, I hear from a lot of the guys that I've spoken to from Pursuit, a lot of them will kind of travel out and help out at North or, at Tidal or True Grit or, places like that and just network.
Same like on Saturday, I was in Leeds at Rise, going with Dara Diablo and referee Scott Bell. Yeah. Again, just showing my face, helping out with whatever. And then on the Sunday, I went to Rev Pro in London, and I was there watching the show, helping out, setting up the ring. And then I took Robbie X back home because he was on the show. That was a long drive, but again, it's all worth it. Pretty much. It's just putting in that effort, putting in that extra mile, because unfortunately, you can't just go to the gym, train, get in great shape, train at your companies, and that's it. You have to do this extra work in order to be noticed. You can't just be good at wrestling. You need to get moving. If that makes sense.
Yeah, you can't just be good at the wrestling. People have got to know you. They've got to know you as a person, not just what you can do in the ring, what you can do outside of the ring. Are you trustworthy? If we book him, is he going to put the effort in and all this kind of sort of stuff? So
it's good. Like anyone in the world can like text promoters and be like, "Hey, I'm here. Here's my CV. Here's a highlight video. Do you want to book me or whatever?" Literally, everyone's doing that. So the only thing different you can do is literally show up, shake the hands, say hi, help out. That's the most important thing you could possibly do.
You thought about the obviously do you drive to London and back? Is it just you and Rob in the car? Or when you do travel, you try and get as many people in the car as possible to obviously save money?
To be fair, sometimes I have to drive on my own. When I'm driving to London, I go with my dad just so we get to switch. Halfway, because no way am I driving 4 hours like my own. God no. Most of the time though, I normally get in the car with someone else. London's the only one where I'm driving, where me and my dad's driving there. Everywhere else, I'm just looking on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, on shows that my friends are on, and then I'll just ask a simple question: is there space in the car? And they'll be like, yeah, and then I just go and do whatever I need to do.
Nice, because again, you hear stories of. I love wrestling books. I read autobiographies and and the bigger part of the autobiographies are the road trips, the stories, the car stories, the picking each other's brains and sort of like, it seems to be like a really good place to figure out what works in a match and what doesn't work in a match. Or, after a show, they'll be honest with you, be like, yeah, probably don't do that again, but that bit looked awesome.
Yeah, I'm always willing to, I want to ask as many people as I possibly can after I've had a match, whoever's watched it, what do you think? And I want people to tell me it was bad. I want people to tell me that, this wasn't great or that one. I don't just want people saying, oh, it was class that. You know what I mean? And that's it. You know what I mean? I want something, even if it was good, I want even the smallest of things, because it doesn't even have to be something that was wrong. It could be, say, like, let's say I might have a different opinion on something an older wrestler is doing, or someone who's more experienced, a veteran. They might have done this certain thing or this move a certain way, And me as a younger generation, more, in a different world, might look at it and think, actually, I'm not sure about, but I personally don't understand why that works. And then they might react like, oh, fair, okay. Because then that's me showing respect to, even like the older people. Because I don't just want to be like, when the veteran walks up to me and asks like, oh, what do you think? And I'm like, yeah, it was class. It was class. That was good. That was good. That was good. That was good. Yeah, it was good. You know what I mean? So I always want to say that again.
Okay, yeah, you want to ask like, okay, yeah, it was good, but why? Why was that bit at that moment? What story was that? You kind of just want not an explanation, but just a breakdown of something.
Going back to reasoning of why you do what you do. Again, some things people will do just to throw in there because they need to fill this gap rather than thinking, okay, why am I actually doing this? What's my purpose here? Everything has to have a reason.
Yeah. Oh, definitely, man. If you again, like we've talked, like you're telling stories, you can't have any moment in a story that doesn't make any sense, or it's just filler. A good story doesn't have filler. Everything means something, or it leads to something else. Even if it's just a rest hold, you're doing that to build up the anticipation for something that comes afterwards. But it serves a purpose.
Yeah.
So yeah, I suppose it's just that's again, that's experience, and you'll get that.
Yeah. Like, like that. Again, a year and a half. Like, there's still so much for me to learn. Like, even in the Sabin Gradwell match, lots of people were telling me, "Oh, that was match of the night. That was class." And then I'm watching it back, but I'm being absolutely hypercritical on every little thing that I'm doing, and even I'm seeing like loads of stuff because I'm very strict with when I watch wrestling, and I'm always looking at the smallest of details on what I'm doing odd or wrong, or maybe something that works for other people but doesn't work for me. Some things can work, depending on who you are, but for me, does it work? Then I have to try and find my own way around certain things.
Yeah, it's your interpretation of something. It's your take on something. You can you can do something, mix it up a little bit, and just put your own stamp on it, kind of thing. But it's not changing it totally. You're just kind of making it yours.
There was one thing Robbie and Nathan told me, explained to me, and I thought this was interesting. I never thought about this until they told me. When when you're on a WWE game and you create your character, you have the blue man, and you have the list of moves. Let's say you're going through super kicks, and let's say you click on the Shawn Michaels super kick, and the blue man does the Shawn Michaels super kick. Just by if you got rid of all the names on the left, you can tell that the blue man is Shawn Michaels just by the way how he moves. And then if you click to another one, you can tell the blue man is doing a Rikishi super kick. Both the same moves, but the way how they're executed and the way how they move, you can tell it's them without even, if you put a mask on Shawn Michaels, if you put a mask on Rikishi, and they're both the exact same shape, you can tell who's who just by how they move.
Yeah, it's like it's a flow. It's like a signature rhythm. Like everybody's kind of not everybody, because that's the problem. I think sometimes everybody either tries to copy them or steal it, as opposed to using it as inspiration.
Everything I do, especially during when I was in coronavirus, I was plotting and planning. And I made a promise that I would try my best, because obviously it's impossible to make your entire moveset yours. That's just not going to happen. Like, you're going to have to take some form of inspiration. But I made a promise that I would try my best to find the rarest of moves possible that work for me. So, for example, the technician style of wrestling, I took a lot of inspiration off Zack Sabre Jr. The backbreaker style of wrestling, that I took a lot off of Roderick Strong. And then that high-paced stuff at the end, I watched a lot of New Japan Pro Wrestling, so like Kenny Omega's, Kazuchika Okada, and all them lot. But I would never straight up copy certain things. I would take things, say, for example, in my opinion, like if you're doing an RKO, you're clearly copying off Randy Orton. But let's say you're doing a strike, like if it be a kick, a knee strike, you're not necessarily copying off that person who does this strike because it's a strike.
Yeah.
Because if for you to say like, "But you can't do that knee strike," that's my knee strike. It's a strike. It's like, you know, I need to defend myself somehow. But if it's a literal move, obviously, yeah, you don't do that. So my entire move set is based around how I'm built, my height, my weight, what looks right for me, and what looks right for Vusyk. Going back to reasoning.
That's it. Yeah. So again, yeah, the sort of, does it fit the character? Does it fit the character's flow, the character's energy? But like I said, yeah, you know, you mentioned Zack Sabre Jr., you know, Omega. Obviously, I know he's got like the V trigger, which is probably the most famous knee strike move. But you're not going to not do a knee strike in fear of somebody being like, oh, it's just a V trigger. No, it's
even
a
that,
knee strike.
To be fair, even that I've changed it. Like I don't. Before I used to do the running bicycle knee strike, like how Kenny Omega does it. But even now, I've changed it so that I don't do that. Where I just have my opponent on their knees and I grab one wrist, grab the head, and I just drive the knee straight through him rather than doing the running thing. Because I thought, I'm not sure about the whole running thing. Like, again, it's the small little detail things I'm looking at. I'm like, what looks better, me running, doing a bicycle knee, or me literally grabbing my opponent's wrist and head and just killing them? So I was like,
that's
yeah,
it.
like it.
Obviously, one looks more showmanshipy, but as a character, Vusyk isn't showmanshipy. You just want that straight, blunt, bang, impact.
Yeah.
I know when we've talked, you mentioned, obviously, yeah, again, I'm of that age, martial arts. I'll reference Bruce Lee a hell of a lot when it comes to martial arts and stuff like that. But the 1-inch punch, it's like one of the most famous things where literally you can just go like a demonstration. It's like a massive slab of wood or brick or something, and it will literally just go like that and hit it. It's not about the distance. It's not about the showmanship. It's just the force that you can drive in a sudden sort of movement. And that's Vusyk through and through.
Yeah. And going back to what we were discussing earlier, like it's funny how I've not watched a Bruce Lee film ever. I'll admit I have read 2 books about Bruce Lee, so you know, let's. I didn't
want to say, yeah, I didn't want to bring that up. Just
yeah, no. I'm gonna watch Enter the Dragon. I'm gonna watch Enter the Dragon. It's on my list of things to watch. But yeah, going back to that 1-inch punch thing, it's not just for special effects wrestling. You just doing this in front of an audience doesn't do much. Whereas the 1-inch punch, if it works, you're using your hips, you're using your legs still, you're using your entire body for it to work.
Oh, you just...
With wrestling, everything needs to be big. So when I'm doing this knee strike, grabbing the wrist, grabbing the head, I can't just. And even this, I learned, or a little mistake I have been doing is I've just been throwing the knee in, like without really pulling back, pulling the knee back, pulling my foot back, everything, push my hip forward. All that detail adds up to not just make this move look brutal, but to make it look visually impressive for the audience around.
Yeah, I get that. I kind of like, obviously, I'm kind of looking at it from, again, probably the more martial arts side of sort of things, but it's finding that balance between not being overly showy, like the Kenny Omega V trigger, but not just being blunt force. You kind of there's a middle ground then where you've got to make it so people sat at the back, the cheap seats, can see you've done something, and you got a bit more movement in your body, and it means something.
Yeah, Michael Jai White. Do you know him? Michael Jai White,
the
actor.
Spawn.
Yeah, he was explaining this when he was with Jesse Enkamp, who's like Swedish karate black belt. He has a YouTube channel as well. And normally when they fight or when you're fighting, you're doing everything you can to take the shortest route possible. Yeah. So when you're throwing a strike or a kick, you want to take the shortest route. You don't want to preempt anything or have this little and then throw, because then it's obvious that you're throwing something. But then he said, when we're making films, do the complete opposite. Everything has to be anticipated and big for the camera, for the lights. So, which is weird to think. And when he explained it, I was like, makes sense. There are other times where it works, like, and seeing what Bruce Lee did with Chuck Norris, where Chuck Norris, Chuck Norris took a massive swing, obviously being absolutely big, and then Bruce Lee just does a quick little boom. You know what I mean? Which that works because at least one person is being big, and then the quick little shoot strike there also looks big there. But yeah, with movie making, wrestling, everything has to be big. In actual fighting, everything has to be short and straight to the point.
I think that's the thing as well. Obviously with the Vusyk character, I'm trying looking at him like being like more. If I'm looking at him as if there's a UFC fighter, so everything has to be exaggerated. That's a perfect example from Michael J. White. Like you sort of said, in a real fight, you don't want any signs, any giveaways. But in wrestling, you need those giveaways, not for your opponent, but for the fans, so they know what's coming.
Yeah, that's right.
That's it. Well, Michael J. White is his quality as well. Obviously, I know him from Spawn, his brief appearance in The Dark Knight. But very good actor, very good martial artist as well. We'll get a lot of credit. But again, just kind of sidebarring off. There's a lot of actors who seem to be very good martial artists, but they never wanted to become typecast as Wesley Snipes was a badass martial artist. But there's very few and far between that you would see him bust a move.
Yeah, I think that's the same thing with me. I get what's the word, typecasted.
Yeah.
With Vusyk, I want him to work in any scenario possible because again, I don't like the idea of just being let's say for example, if I was a comedy wrestler, I don't just want to do comedy, if that makes sense. If Vusyk was a character that works for professional wrestling, he can mix in with comedy, striking, tech wrestling, hardcore, all that. And I do my best to make sure that's the case, and I hope I do as well. Being typecasted for a role, that reminds me actually, I read a book, Matthew McConaughey. Matthew McConaughey, yeah. So,
all right.
Yeah, good, yeah. in his early days, he was being typecasted in romantic comedy films type thing, and he was always being offered these same type of films. So one day he was like, "Okay, I need to get out of this." So he rejected an offer for this film, and then they kept coming back with him, and so new offers getting more expensive. He was like, this is a lot of money, this, but no, I got to pull out of this. And then when they finally backed off, he didn't really get a job offer for about a year or two. No jobs came in whatsoever. But because he was patient and because he got out of that cycle, he then started getting into the films that he wanted to get in, which then eventually led to films like Interstellar, and that explains itself, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, Wolf of Wall Street, $1 Million Club, or what? I can't remember the exact name of that one. The Gentleman, the latest Guy Ritchie film. Tropic Thunder, just a very silly comedy, which wouldn't have been a McConaughey film back in the day, kind of thing. Again, I think it's in films, especially in wrestling as well. You've got to be wary, I suppose, then of being pigeonholed, into that one box.
If you can work in any scenario and you let promoters know that if you can work in singles matches, tag matches, multi-man matches, you can work in a comedy match, you can do hardcore matches, maybe stay away from death matches, but if you are showing people that you can do all this at a great quality, then that gives promoters more reason to bring you in, because you're not just I'm a heel, I'm a singles wrestler, that's it. You know what I mean? You need to be able to do everything.
You missed the versatility. It makes you missed the versatility then. No matter what spot it is on the card, they're right, we can use him, whether it be for X, Y, or Z. It just gives promoters a wider option to use you. And it must be because obviously you kind of want to be true to, again, I'm kind of going on about character, but you want to be sort of true to the character, but it's got to be flexible. Again, to mention Bruce Lee, but it's a case of be like water, be able to fit into any substance kind of thing, and just be fluid, I suppose.
Yeah, I got you. That's the aim.
Well, yeah, and I'm trying to think though, because obviously there are people out there that just do fit into certain sort of boxes. But again, with yourself, like so, you got the striking. Love to see you in a pure grit match at some point. For for true grit, I think you could work. Obviously the ground and pound, the technical side, and I think it would be a slightly different match to what we've seen before.
I had a true. Was it True Grit Rules? True Grit Rules match with Liam Slater.
Sorry. Yeah. Yes, you did. I think there was that left back, wasn't
it? Yeah, that was one of my favorite matches out of them all. God, round one was complete tech wrestling, non-stop, going back and forth. Round two, nothing but European uppercuts, and then at the end of that, he got lucky.
Yeah, I remember that. I'm thinking like, I'd love to see one of those matches. I'm thinking that I've kind of imagined it or fantasy booked it in my head. And yeah, obviously I have seen you. Sorry, man, I will see that many matches sometimes. Like they all kind of muddle into one at a time. But I do remember that one, yeah, because it was at the first left bank show for True Grit. It was like it was Redemption, wasn't it?
I think so. I can't remember the title.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, so there was a bit of a hoo-ha about the rounds as well. It wasn't overly clear. Like when one, I know it's a bit of a confusion kind of thing, and it was a bit of like, right, okay, we'll do this better next time. But the match itself was awesome. But yeah, they realised they needed a louder bell, I think.
Oh yeah, it was quite a while back, to be fair. So I've got
it was.
I've got a memory about it.
It was Redemption. I apologise. Like I said, I thought I fantasy booked in my head, but it's like, oh yeah, I've actually seen that match. And then obviously, it's against Liam. So there's probably nobody better to work that style of match against, because as you said earlier, just Mr. Encyclopedia, the technical side of wrestling, and your mentor. So it must have just been nice just to European uppercut him a few times.
It was very nice, and I know he's very jealous. I know he's very jealous of my European uppercut, and I will always remind him mine is better, so much better than his, and it always will
be. And man, the European uppercut is such an underappreciated. It's one of those moves. If somebody does it wrong, it legitimately pisses me off because I'm like, no, that's not how you. A few people use it and use it really well. Obviously. You got Claudio, aka Cesaro, in AEW, his trademark European uppercut kind of thing. Learned from Regal, but I've seen other people do them, and they don't even hit them with the arm. They kind of hit them with the hip. It's like they totally miss with the arm, and the hip hits them. I'm like, oh no, don't do that.
I think that's just a case of people aren't being taught it right. I think that's all. It's just technique, and it's very different as well because it's a wrestling strike. It's not like a kick or anything. It's an actual professional wrestling strike, which is what I like about it. I don't like to. I mentioned this before. Because do karate and because I'm a brown belt karate, I don't want that to become the character.
Yeah.
So for example, I don't want to become a karate kid in wrestling. Like not to be disrespectful, like Mike Bailey, for example. I see him. So he's a Taekwondo black belt. But in my eyes, if you're kicking people and you're a Taekwondo black belt, you are killing them after one kick. You don't require so many kicks or whatever. That's just my opinion. If I was to give, that type of advice or whatever. So I don't want to become the Karate Kid Bruce Lee in the world of professional wrestling. I want to become Vusyk in the world of professional wrestling with karate in the back pocket, just for whenever he needs it.
Yeah, and it's again going really, really old school. You don't want to be, Steve Blackman kind of thing. Obviously, as badass as Steve Blackman was, he was very, very pigeonholed and very much in a very small box, and it got very old very quickly, kind of thing. You can put as many pieces of cheese on his head as you want. It's not gonna last. His career's not gonna go that far. I've been watching I'm watching 97 wrestling with James Carr at the minute. And we just watched WCW show and Glacier was on it. And it was a massive thing WCW did in 97 that was totally Mortal Kombat based. They had a bunch of wrestlers who were very much inspired by Mortal Kombat. And Glacier was coming out in his Sub-Zero gear. And on this pay-per-view, they just had a martial arts match. And it was just awful. I say it was awful. I enjoyed it. James hated it. From a wrestling point of view, it was shit. But from a martial arts fan's appreciation of cheese, I was like, this is fucking amazing. This is great. But yeah, again, who's heard of Glacier? Who's heard of Steve Blackman except for die-hard wrestling fans?
Yeah. I only just heard of was it Steve Blackman? Is that right?
Yeah.
I only just heard of him just because someone mentioned him one day. I was like, "Oh, Steve Blackman." And I was like, "He's like this karate dude or whatever." Then that was about it. You know what I mean? God, Sub-Zero.
Glacier in WCW, but he came out dressed like Sub-Zero.
Oh yeah. I remember him. So I first saw him in I think it was one of the first AEW show. It was like a Rumble match or something. He made an appearance, I think, in that.
Huh.
That's where I first learned about him. So yeah, that's another great point. Like I only just learned of him because I watched the first AEW show, and that was it. Really,
that again. Yeah, there's no longevity to it. It doesn't. Like I say, it's nice for a year or 2 years. It's not something you can make a career out of. So you need to get that balance of, like I said, at the end of the day, it's wrestling. You are a wrestler who knows martial arts. You're not a martial artist who knows a bit of wrestling.
Yeah. That's right.
But yeah, man, it's just just quickly touch on this. Obviously, you mentioned just fine tuning the little bits, looking at this, that, and the other. I don't know if you've ever listened to it, but it's not around anymore. But William Regal did a podcast a couple of years ago when he was in AEW, and like every episode it would be about something, but he would go on like a 30-minute rant at the start of every episode just about something really small in wrestling. But when he starts pointing it out, you're like, never thought about that before. And then when it's caliber, you thought, you're like, okay, it totally changed the way that I look at certain things in wrestling, like pinfalls. Like if you're not putting your full weight on, why you even bother trying to pin them, kind of thing.
Yeah, that annoys me the most. when you see people just hook the leg and just lay on them, not getting your whole body on the shoulders. Like even then, you don't need to hook the leg. You just get your whole body on the upper part of the shoulders, and then you've got a decent pin. Yeah, I can't say I watch a lot of or listen to a lot of podcasts per se. I'm more someone who watches like the short highlight videos just so that I get straight to the point or whatever. But no, I can't say I've watched the William Regal stuff. I don't really know much. I don't really know much about podcasts in general. To be fair, that give that type of information. The most I've watched is from Dax Harwood, stuff that he's got, and a lot of stuff that he mentioned, even like Jim Cornette as well. I know that a lot of people don't like Jim Cornette, but there is some stuff where I'm like, he is actually very much right about certain things. And it does open your eyes to stuff of like, yeah, that is very obvious. Why aren't people doing, what I mean? That type of reaction, which is what I like.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, the thing is with Cornette, when he's right. But when he's wrong, he's so fucking wrong. And I've never got past the fact that he pretty much just wished death upon Darby Allin. I was like, that's it. You could make all the sense in the world, but after you say something like that, and I'll kind of wash my hands. But yeah, it same as you. I do this show. I don't generally listen to sort of podcasts. I just know that I was just a massive mark for William Regal. So as soon as one dropped for him, I was like, well, I'll check that one out, kind of thing. And I just loved just the little details. And I said, just hearing him go on for 30 minutes about pinfalls, it just totally blew my mind. But it made me think about the finer details.
It shows that he cares about the business as well.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, even at his age, doing everything that he's done, the passion is still there. But I think that's British wrestling as a whole. I think, I'll say 87% of it. A lot of the guys that are involved in British wrestling, especially now, just seem to have so much passion. And I think that's why British wrestling is at its peak at the moment. I just think you guys are elevating each other more than you've ever done before.
Oh God, yeah. Going back to like care of professional wrestling, me and Ace Matthews went to a 2-day seminar with Mike Quackenbush. And at the end of it, he was going on about how much he loves professional wrestling, how in the seminar he was training. Like there was someone that showed up to the seminar their very first wrestling training session with Mike Quackenbush, which was class. It was absolutely brilliant. I loved that. And then also alongside that, a day one trainee, you also had Johnny Kidd, who was there, who made an appearance, much called, and just having everyone in the middle, day one trainee, someone who's been wrestling for maybe 30 plus years or whatever, or maybe more, much called. And see Mike Quackenbush talk about this, and he was like getting emotional, like crying, type of talking about all this. And the moment I saw that, I was like, yeah, that's class, because I know he absolutely cares about this. Yeah, this isn't just like a money making thing. This isn't just a seminar where bringing money. Like, he cares about professional wrestling. Those are the people I love the most in this world.
Yeah, definitely. I just think if you've got that passion, it shines through, and you can just tell in matches the people who have got that passion. I just think matches seem just a bit better, kind of thing. Whereas people who just, I don't know. Again, I don't know. It's not anyone in particular, but I just think not so much now, but previously, there was maybe people who was in two minds, and the matches didn't quite flow. They didn't have the energy. I don't really see that as much anymore. I just think that speaks, for the positivity within British wrestling.
Yeah, if I find that I'm in a match and the emotions I feel here are absolutely real, which is very often, I know there's going to be good quality as a result of this.
That's it. It's as genuine as a sport based around entertainment can be. So, just clocked the hour mark. I promise you, I won't keep you for too long. I've kept you for 60 minutes. Gives me a chance to edit and stuff. Dude, it's been awesome. It's just been nice to talk wrestling, but martial arts and films and all kinds of forms of entertainment and media as well. Because I think they're all intertwined, and everything's about good storytelling. So dude, thank you so much. I've had a blast talking to you.
So good, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
That's all right. Do you want to plug your socials? Do you want to get eyes on the prize?
All my social media is at Vusyk_CZ on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok. It's all the same. If you type Vusyk, you'll find me. Merchandise, you'll find any of the shows on merch tables. I would get it if I was you. It is very good merchandise.
I will obviously plug your socials. I'll apologise in advance because I'm going to probably spam your socials over the next couple of days when this gets uploaded. But obviously, if you're watching this and you see us on Twitter or Facebook or Insta, if you follow at the left side, click Vusyk and go follow him. And like I say, buy some merch, buy a ticket, go to shows, support your local promotions. It's awesome. And hit like, hit subscribe, and we'll see you very soon for the 101 episode. So thank you for watching.